Good evening, friends, and welcome back to Entropy Increases. We move on to our new season, the 5th season of Ron Side of the Wall, and also, it is my pleasure for the next 6 sessions to officially pass the reins over to the Elder Kiefer. And there he is. He's got the reins. Guide us well. Please don't kill us in the first session. That'd be my only request.
Promises.
I'm confused.
Yes.
Right.
We should be very scared right now.
So, Chris, our storyteller, please take it away.
My pleasure. Thank you, Nathaniel. So, as you all know, we're going to be starting off in the Cypher system, and we're going to be returning to a world that we visited, most of us visited anyways. Is that 2015, 2016, 2017?
Oh my
It
god.
can't be that long ago. No.
It's been a while, anyways.
No. That was last year.
It's been longer.
Feels like
Not
that.
2019? Okay. All right. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Not as far back as I thought, but still 4 years-ish.
Far.
And it's been even longer for the inhabitants of that world. It's been over a century since the events of Curious Business, which was on a campaign in that world. And so part of what we're going to be experiencing today is finding out what's happened in the interim. I'm going to mention right now that each of your characters has been in this world for a certain period of time. For Cyrus and Kale, you both know from the introduction that I gave you that you've been in this world for about 3 weeks. So there are some things that you've managed to pick up here and there that you as players don't know. So if as you're working your way through various events, you're just like, should I know this or not? Feel free to ask me. For Zaniel and Themrir, it'll become clear how long you've been here. And again, if you're like, so have I managed to figure this out? Do I know these people? What's going on here? Have I got the backstory on this? Feel free to just pipe up and say so. Before we do any of that, though, let's get started with the introduction for this season. I'm going to play something.
Ooh.
I'm going to play a random clip to make sure that everybody is able to hear it, and then we'll get started with that.
That music sounds familiar.
Heard.
All right, seems like we're good all around.
That was good. Keep playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever put that together did a good job.
What handsome musician wrote that piece?
Yeah, for real.
Weird door.
Yeah, it
All
was
right.
quite smart.
Let's get started.
I've been friends with Miles for a long time. He's always been the idealistic one. He believes in what people can be, in the good they can do. I've always been the pragmatic one. I know how people are, and how selfish they can be. My name is Seth, CEO of Triune Corporation. If you live in reality with an friends with Miles for a long -2 or less time, your reality has always been the idealistic one to me. He believes in what people can be, in the good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry because your lives are now in jeopardy, and that's our fault. I can't explain it now. It's a long story that spans about 30,000 years, give or take a few. And while there's no way we could have known what would happen, what had been locked away so long ago, ignorance is no excuse. I'm sorry because we haven't been good parents. Too much humanity and all its wild and wonderful offshoots, spread across too many worlds. In the early days, Miles and I made regular appearances at each and every colony, helped seed the fossil magic that would help things grow and flourish. But after the revelation, well, we walled a lot of you off. And I'm sorry because for all of you on this side of the wall, I'm calling in your debts. Every one of your worlds owes its existence and initial infrastructure to Triune Corporation. And I've kept the receipts. Somewhere on your planet is the binding point that connects it to our world, and through our world to all the others. And if you don't want your inter-reality trade cut off, you will commit to Miles' Mutual Defense Pact. I don't care why you join the fight, whether it's because I'm twisting your arm, or because you, like Miles, really believe in the greater good. I just want you to fight. Because if we don't win, whether you fought or not, oblivion is coming for you.
Let's go.
Wow.
Miles, what happened to your voice? It's so weird.
I threw it.
Impressive.
God damn.
And then it came back to you.
Let's do it.
Christian, is your mind blown already?
Yeah.
You've got another
Wait.
impression under your belt now, Nathaniel.
Ooh.
So yes, for those not in the know, that was Seth.
Oh my
Mm.
god.
Who?
Yes, we've heard of him a little bit. We've heard from Miles a
Heard a
few
little
times, and now we've heard from Seth.
The partner to the S and the M. Oh yeah.
That's right.
I don't. You mean that guy? What was his name? Chimera?
No.
Mm.
No, that was a different
There is a relation.
Seth.
Mm.
Speaking of all the various characters, Task, we're going to begin with you.
I understand.
It's dark and cold, and it feels like it's been dark and cold for a long time. Your body is designed to handle extremes. It's meant to be more robust, more vigorous than any human body could be. But it's not impervious to this kind of pervasive chill. Slowly but surely, you've been finding that you're able to move less. You feel heavy in your chest, a heaviness on your limbs that means that you can't stir anymore. Not that there's ever seemed to be a reason to do so. You can't tell whether it's been a minute, an hour, a day, a year, since you held that medallion in your hand. You fought over it with the black armored man, and your team managed to get the other medallion, emblem, whatever it was, into place. But your fingers are still clenched, as though they were still holding that lightning emblemed medallion. There's nothing in between them. But the feel of it, the thrill it sent down every branch of your nervous system is still there. In the darkness and the cold, you see suddenly, for the first time in who knows how long, something. Points of light? Stars? They surround you, and they slowly drift towards you, and you realize they can't be stars. They're things. Moving, living things. Wriggling things. The environment around you suddenly comes into relief, but it's off color. It's stark, white on black, like a chalk drawing. The things elongate from points to lines and start to swarm around you like little leeches. They touch your body, and their touch is cold, and it feels like it's drawing what little energy you still have in you, what little heat you've been able to hold on to out through 1,000 wounds, but you still can't move. You've never slept in your life. Not that you remember, not since Kale and Rains got you out of that tube. But you imagine this is kind of like what sleep paralysis must feel like. To be aware and awake, but unable to do anything. And to know that you're helpless as these things latch on one after another, as they swarm on you. But then there's another point of light. In the distance, a warm glow that quickly becomes almost blinding in its intensity. And it touches upon your brow. And the little wriggling things scatter. Those that don't move or detach from you fast enough collapse into little piles of dust and blow away. And you feel warm again for the first time in a long time. a minute, a day, a year. The area around you starts to come into focus with colors, and the chalk outlines start to fill in. You can see a hall that leads off brickwork. You hear a distant voice, but you're not sure if it's really audible or if it's all just inside your head.
Task. I've been waiting for you.
We'll come back to you in a bit. Cyrus, you wake up, and it's pretty much what you were expecting. It's the same as it was half an hour ago when someone kicked the bottom of your bunk and woke you up. And pretty much the same as an hour ago when someone was throwing up a little bit further down the room. And the same as it was an hour before that when just the sheer smell of the place and the heat and the dampness of it woke you up. And you kicked off the thin, aged sheet that was all that could be spared. Not to say you're not grateful, but this place is kind of a mess. Now, it's better than the first week you and Kale spent here. That was not great. This place is swarming. It is absolutely crammed, filled with people and species of all descriptions. You had not seen anybody who looked quite like this before. Even Snurgle, as a goblin, was a little out there, but he had a generally humanish shape. Not everybody here does. Some of the people around here have clearly had some major surgical modifications. Others were probably just born looking like a potato with eyes, and you don't know what's up with that. You are glad to have the bunk because you were sleeping out in the streets with Kale for the first week because there's just too many people and too few beds. You've done some favors and you have looked after some people since then, and you have earned a spot. But of course, it means that somebody else is not getting the bunk. People are doubling up, tripling up. In fact, you know that the little family of rat people who normally have this bed and the one next to it have vacated, and you can see them all curled up together across the aisle from you in their own bunk. They're smaller, so maybe it's not quite so as comfortable for them as it looks. Kale is on the bunk above you, and you can hear him still snoring well enough. He's probably sleeping better than you have been anyways. You've had some worries on your mind. Like the supply of sustenance tickets running out. Everybody gets a few here and there. The government doles them out to the buildings, and since now you've managed to actually land a sort of spot, there's tickets to be had. But there's not enough tickets for everybody who's here, because there's more people who then are officially supposed to be in the building. So who gets a ticket on what day is really a matter of who's willing to give up a meal. You've got a few that you have been given for helping people out of some serious scrapes. And they'll see you through the next couple of days, but it doesn't help that they're also the major means of exchange. If you need anything other than food, there's no money in this place. What good would it be? But people will trade their next meal ticket or accept a meal ticket in trade. And anything you need to get done, you're going to need those tickets. So that probably means it's time to go see if Doc has anything for you again. You've been working with her. She's a local, and she seems like good people. Her and her team sort of smack of ex-military to you, but they seem to be interested in trying to accomplish what good they can in a difficult and dangerous situation. You're on the top floor of what used to be some sort of apartment building or condo or complex of some kind. And she's on the bottom. And there's all these people in between. No elevators anymore, but the stairs still work.
Well, last meal was probably just enough to get me down those stairs and work off the calories. Pop my head up to see Kale still snoring, probably. I just say quietly, just enough that he's awake, he'll hear, not enough to wake him. Going to see the dog, bud. And I add, oh,
Have fun.
try not to get any trouble while I'm gone. Not like last week. It's only been the 3 weeks, so you're not really batting 1,000 just yet. And
Batting 2,000.
yeah, sure. Drop from the bunk and make my way to the wherever the doorway to the stairs is.
Mm-hmm. You have to weave your way through a number of other people. You know, there's a little aisle, but personal possessions tend to get dropped in the midst. So you can step around them or kick them aside, depending on how you're feeling that particular day. As you go, a few people nod in your direction, mostly people who you've helped or who have been willing to assist you when it comes time to do what needs to be done. Each of these buildings has become like a little fort in a way, because they do have a supply of people, of things, of sustenance tickets. And when it comes time for the government to come around with the big, well-armored trucks and the biomechanical escorts to actually dole out the food and the water, each of these buildings is where they go, which means that each of these buildings is a target for the various gangs that roam the streets. And of course, the buildings can sometimes choose to try and raid each other. It's not an ideal situation.
Does our building have a designation? Is there something that the people call this building?
The area you're in, you know from a few people that you've spoken with, particularly Doc, is part of a city that used to be called New Toronto. This particular section of it is a refugee camp that's been sort of ripped off of the city proper, walled away. You know there are at least a few others, because the whole area is referred to as, let me find my notes here, Temporary Administrative Shelter District 7. Presumably there are districts 1 through 6, if nothing else. Most of the folks around here just call it Cell Block 7. And then, of course, each of the buildings is given a name by its inhabitants and also has a designation from the government. The government calls this particular building Temporary Refugee Shelter A1. But most of the people here just call it steak sauce.
Ah. Very good. Very good. All right. I assume by the time I'm done remembering all that, I've probably made it down the stairs.
Partway down the stairs, anyways. About halfway down, there's a bit of a... Well, it's becoming standard practice that somebody's fighting over something. And it spills out into the stairways sometimes as people try to make their way out of the fights or into the fights. There's screaming, shouting. There's the sounds of things getting hit on something else. Most of the fights around here tend to end pretty quickly, either because the combatants go off to nurse the various wounds or because one person is dead and the other one's got whatever they came for. This one seems to be turning into something larger scale, though. You could try and get past it, maybe squeeze through here. You could try and see what there is to do about it, but the last time you stuck your nose into one of these, it wasn't as much fun as it might have been.
I don't want to get too deep into the fray without investigating a little, but can I see if this fight seems to be misunderstanding or... no, sorry, let me rephrase this. Does this fight seem to have both participants willing, or does it seem like one of them has been dragged into this fight?
Honestly, you can't see whoever it was who originated the fight, because now it's becoming sort of a general brawl. You can see 5 or 6 or 7 people maybe at it down in the middle somewhere, and then there's sort of a crowd gathered around them. The usual set of people who are just sort of cheering it on, who are using it as a bit of street theater to keep them occupied, and maybe a few who are hoping to rush in and snatch something when nobody else is looking. Why don't we see if you can determine, what's actually going on and who is at the heart of all of this?
Okay. Let's see. Well, you tell me first, and then I'll tell you what I've got to make that easier, if anything.
I think this seems like an intellect roll to me. We're going to do difficulty 3.
All right, difficulty 3. I do have a skill towards perception.
All right, so that eases it by a level.
What else have I got? I have a skill for discern motives. That's up to you whether that'll ease again or not.
I think maybe a future roll that once you've managed to figure out what's going on or who's involved.
I'll stick with 2. So we'll do an intellect roll at 2.
All righty.
Yeah, I won't put any effort into that. I succeed.
Wow.
Major effects.
First success of the first roll of the game. Good job.
And it's a natural 20.
And a natural 20.
This is honestly the best start we could possibly have.
I think that's a nat 20, guys.
Natural 20.
All right. With a strong start like that, I'm not going to have you roll further for this particular bit. You can identify exactly who's at the heart of it. It's a well-known troublemaker. This guy is always stealing something from someone, or at least getting accused of doing the same. You don't necessarily know whether he's a bad person or if he's actually a thief, but you know that people tend to call him as much. So it's not surprising that he's here at the center of it again. He seems to be getting backed up by a few of his friends, but they're definitely outnumbered by the angry individuals who are calling for blood. Because you got a natural 20, I'm going to say that actually, as they are fighting and you are recognizing this, a few people at the fringe turn to look around, just seeing who else is joining in, what's going on, to decide whether or not it's time for them to get out of Dodge before things go bad. And they see you there. And you are a well-known peacemaker. You're somebody who's been accomplishing things to make this place a little bit better. So they call on you. Cyrus! Good timing. Well, maybe bad timing. I don't know if this is going to end without somebody's blood on the table. And it's so hard to scrub these.
Right. All right. Fine. Not really my business, but...
Look, if anybody can talk sense into these people, it's going to be you.
All right. Cyrus, assuming these people are going to let him into the ring that's forming, Cyrus would step to the edge of the ring, take one step in, not in the middle of where the fray is about to be, but just enough that he's discerned from the crowd. Come on, boys. What's the problem?
You dirty piece of... And they pause for a moment as they hear your voice, and one of them's got their hands in the hair of the other. Another one is still, in the mid-strike, sort of pauses with its fist against the other guy's cheekbones as they all kind of look up like children being caught by the teacher. Just dealing with this. And somebody picks up a cup. Stole my cup. Again.
You're holding the cup.
But I wasn't. He was.
The problem's solved. You've got the cup, bud.
And they all kind of look around at each other. And there's a moment of shamefacedness amongst them. Again, because you got a major effect there. They just sort of wilt under your gaze. Yeah, but maybe next time I won't get it back. I only have one cup. Everyone only has one cup.
Hey, I know. We've all only got one cup. That's part of it. It's bad enough here already when you're not turning each other to a pulp. How many meal tickets is it going to cost to get Doc to fix you up? Is it going to be worth it for the cup?
Maybe if I knew that it was going to stay with me from now on. Keep my cup.
I look at the guy who is accused of taking the cup. Is this worth the cup? I'm not saying you took the cup. I'm not saying he didn't take the cup. It's not what it's about. If you took the cup, is this worth the cup?
You don't have to tell me. I didn't take anything. I'd never steal from anyone ever. And there's a lot of snorting and disbelief around the circle. No. Look, I was merely trying to relocate it. I needed to go through there. He'd left his cup in the aisle.
Okay. So let's say this. Next time you need to relocate someone's cup, just say loudly before you do it. Hey, just walking by, moving the cup out of the way so I don't step on it or anything. Presumably he's ready to let you go. You're ready to go whatever way you were going, and we can all call it a day.
As always, the voice of wisdom, people. The rest are a little bit less pleased. But let's see if anybody is displeased enough to do anything about it. I'd like another intellect roll from you here, and this time we will do discern motives.
Okay.
To ease it. And the difficulty, again, normally would be 3, reduced to 2.
With the ease, we'll do 2. Perfect. Let's see if I've got anything else. No, I think 2 will be fine.
See if we invert our success. No. Very good. They know your reputation. You're a stand-up guy. And you're bringing the fight to an end. Everybody's got their cups. It's not a big deal. The fight breaks up. At least this time. This fight. The person who was the aggrieved cup party just sort of nods sullenly at you and heads off. The person who was the accused sort of grips your hand with both of his and shakes it. So graceful. I'm glad you came by. Who knows how ugly that would have become over a cup. So silly.
My friend, I don't want to see you get hurt. You know I don't want to see anyone get hurt. But you know it's more than a cup. We've all barely got anything to our name. You know?
Oh, the more reason that we should share and share alike, right?
If only the world were that easy. You know I'm with you on this one, but just think before you take something that belongs to someone else. Think not only about what good it would do for you, but think about how bad it's going to be for them to not have it. You might think twice.
Of course. Of course. We must all be thinking of one another in such a difficult time. Yes. Competition, no. Cooperation, yes.
Hey, we're all in the same building. Don't forget, competition also comes from other places.
True enough.
But
speaking of which, I understand that you're going to be leading us on our next raid. Did I not hear as much?
Who told you that?
Oh, just some hopeful voices, I suppose. You know that there's nothing like enough here. If we had you on the raiding party, though, I know you disapprove of them, but surely you must see how necessary it is.
It's interesting they told you before they told me, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm good with my words. I'm good at breaking up fights over cups, but it's not like I'm some infallible badass. A raid led by me would go just as well as anyone else.
Oh, you're too modest. I'm certain that it would make all the difference. But your decision, of course. I am sure we'll get by somehow with, maybe less than 1 cup per person and nothing to put in it. Anyways,
I guess
so let me stop you. And he heads off into the general crowd.
Cyrus keeps walking towards Doc's office, but just kind of mutters to himself, man, the way that guy, he's just fucking creepy.
All right. Doc's office is less an office and more of an atrium. The area in which the medical center has been set up is the bottom floor of this apartment complex, and it used to be one of those combination, dentist office, cafe, Starbucks, little grocery store kind of setups that you would find in a big city at the base of a residential tower. It's probably once sported, little topiaries in various places and lots of nice overhead lighting. Now it's got a bunch of broken windows and the rain in, and a number of panels that flicker on and off fitfully depending on whether or not the power is working particularly well today. The electricity situation is another one that's a little bit uncertain, but not on your plates yet. Somewhere in all of this crowd, Doc can be found, but she and her team tend to move pretty fast. There's always somebody who needs something. And honestly, it's a bit of a miracle how her and her team of 3 or 4 volunteers have been managing to hold down the fort in terms of, it's got to be thousands of people, at least in this tower alone. And she welcomes all comers. People from other towers, people off the street. A lot of people, if they need treatment, they know they can get it here. Even if their physiology is probably nothing that poor Doc ever studied back in wherever college she might have gone to, if that was even a thing in this world.
I was going to say, hey, in New Toronto, who knows?
You finally do spot her as you go through the crowd. She's a fairly small woman, a lot of gray in her hair, and a lot of steel on her body. There's more metal to her than flesh, in fact. All of her limbs have been traded out for mechanicals. And from what you've heard from what she has told you as well, a lot of the internals have changed up as well. She looks maybe like she's in her mid-50s, a vigorous mid-50s, but you expect that she's probably at least twice that. She has a few of her team around her. Actually, you see just the one. The others must be tending off to some of the various patients. The noise level in here is high. There are people on all the beds. There are people on the floors, on top of thin blankets where there are no beds to be had. There are people just sort of meandering. There are people sitting. There's a lot of walking wounded who are trailing behind them. Saline bottles, not full packs, but just bottles that see them through half an hour if they need fluid replacement. And there's a lot of people here who are just sort of slumped into corners, who you expect might be getting seen at some point, but maybe they don't get seen before they expire. It's just how it is.
All right, Cyrus would approach Doc, making sure to stay out of the way, especially if it seems like she's mid some sort of procedure, whatever she's doing. And when he thinks he sees a good time to slip a word, and he goes, "Hey, Doc, Cyrus here."
Cyrus.
What's the word?
I think it's sleep, but it doesn't sound familiar.
I was going to say, it doesn't look like sleep's a word.
I hope you've managed to capture a few hours.
Between the kicks to the bottom of the mattress and the hissy fits they tend to throw up there, I got a couple winks. What's going on down here, aside from all this?
Aside from all this, well,
There's always something.
you're not wrong, Cyrus. And let me read between the lines here and say that you're looking to pad the bottom line.
Tickets, Doc.
That's what it's all about here, isn't it? That's our fault. Should be better. These refugee camps are a sham. No, they're a disgrace.
Well, they're the best we've got. Especially when we've got people like you working in them. So that's why I'm coming here. What can I do?
Well, I guess there's nursing duties that, and even as she's starting to walk through a list of things that she might be able to do, another of her assistants runs over and tugs sort of deferentially on her sleeve, and then you can see him sort of abort a salute even as he's doing it. And she turns to him, just raising an eyebrow. Sorry, ma'am, but got another. Oh, God. Same place. Yes, take him to the cold room. I'll take a look. All right. What are we going to do about... What you're going to do is stay quiet. The last thing we need is a panic over this. Mm-hmm. All right. And he heads off.
Cyrus crosses his arms and also raises an eyebrow.
Well, I guess I could find something more to your particular talents than nursing duty, if you're interested. Why don't you go rouse your friend, and I'll introduce you to a couple of acquaintances of mine from out of town as well. I think you should all see this, actually.
Okay. I'll have you know, neither of us panic particularly easily, but my friend is not the best at tight lips. I'll do what I can, though.
We have to keep this under wraps for as long as we can, but it's only a matter of time. We can't be finding them all. There's already word trickling in from the other buildings that they've seen something similar.
I got you.
We'll get your friend. We need to talk about this.
Okay, I'll get him quickly before I break off here. Have you been keeping an ear out about those folks I told you about? Goblin Man, the
the shapeshifter,
yeah,
and the pretty woman, and the angry woman, I think it was.
Yeah, that pretty much narrows it down.
There's a lot of humans and humanoids in the camp. I think if they were here in Cell Block 7 with us, you might have run into them by now. Or at least I would have heard news about where their bodies ended up.
I figure. But, I just got to do my due diligence. Out of everyone in this place, you're the one who sees everyone. So.
Not everyone. Just as many as we can.
I'll get Arkham.
I'll be at the back, in the morgue. All right, so we'll skip ahead a little bit, assuming that you get Arkham. And the two of you make your way safely down the stairs and into the medical center. Again, the press of bodies here is significant, and pushing your way through them to the morgue at the back is going to be a little bit of effort and time, but you'll get there.
And just remember, Kale, I know I've already said it like 15 times down the stairs. The doc wants this one kept as quiet as possible for as long as possible. You got me?
I don't even know what we're actually doing right now. Like,
yes,
you were very, very specifically not telling me what we're doing.
Yeah, that's because I don't really know much about it either. We're going to see the doc. She wants to tell us about something. She doesn't want anyone to know.
Okay, fine.
Hey. It's okay. I know I woke you up twice.
Yeah. It's just... This is crazy. Look at this guy. It's still crazy.
I know. He's a giant turtle. You don't see it where we're from. But he seems like a relatively nice guy.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a lot,
he is turtle shaped, but like, it doesn't stop being weird, man.
And I drag him away by the arm. What did I tell you about calling people weird right next to them? At least wait till we're out of earshot, man.
Okay, fine. He should know he's weird, though.
And we keep walking through the throngs.
There's an area that's sectioned off from the rest of the hospital. It's the only place that has like a really seriously functional door to it. You can see that once upon a time it was probably some sort of admin office for the apartment building. The door is thick, it's metal, and at one point it probably slid open, but you can see that some handles have been inexpertly welded to the surface so that you can drag it to one side and back again. Now, when you go up to the door, one of the doc's assistants is waiting for you there on the other side, and he drags the door open and waits for you all to step inside before dragging it closed again. And you hear a click and a clank behind you as he does so. The cause for alarm. Just got to stay cold in here, and we don't have electricity to spare.
Makes enough sense to me.
It is cold in here. The temperature's got to be at least 10 degrees below what it was in the room you just came from. Still pretty warm for a morgue. You expect that. Maybe the bodies don't last as long as they ought to. Somewhere near the back, there's shadows moving, some shapes. You can work out the fairly slim profile of the doctor working away at a table. She's muttering to herself. She has what looks like a working data pad on the table beside her. She's entering in notes. She's working with something that's leaving her hands sticky. You can see her occasionally wiping her hands onto a cloth beside her, an already rather stained one. And then you can see another person just sort of sitting on one of the morgue beds that have been rolled out from the little freezer section. He's an interesting fellow. He looks like he's been through a lot. There's scars on his arms, on his wrists, on his fingers. But he's wearing, something like a cloak or a robe of some kind, perhaps. You can see that once it must have been really grand. Some sort of scale of some kind. Something pretty serious in any case. But you can see the bits of it seem to be flaking off even as you watch. Little scales or tiles falling out of the deteriorating armor. He's got a look of calm on him, though. A look of strength to him. Further back, very much cloaked in the shadows of the rather dimly lit room, there's another shape moving. It's tall and moves with sort of a languid grace, almost serpentine. But it's hard to say exactly who or what. Doc looks up as you enter the room, acknowledging your presence with sort of a nod, and then gestures you over to the nearest bed where she's working. Cyrus, Kale, I hope that sniffle isn't bothering you anymore.
No, I'm all better now.
I'm glad. We've had some very strange diseases going around. People importing more than just, their bodies and the worldly goods with them from wherever they've come from.
Can we turn the heat up? I'm used to engine room temperature.
Sorry. This would be a bad place for that. These bodies rot too fast as it is. We end up having to burn most of them. Like this poor fellow, we're definitely going to have to get rid of him. And she points to the body that she's been working on. The body is definitely male, very distinctly. You can tell because it's naked. And well built. Now, if you happened to expect more than 3 of those there. 2 legs, which is a bit of a relief compared to some of the things you've seen. But the arms are sort of strangely shaped, and you can see that, as she tugs some of the cloth aside as she continues her examination, that it has arms that are sort of bivalved, 2 hands, 2 lower limbs rather, going forward, and 2 lower limbs going back. Bit of a handsy fellow. But that's not really what stands out as Doc continues to point her way up the body. The face doesn't match. She just lets you look at it for a little bit as she continues her examination. I called you in here because this is not the first body we found like this. I think this is number 10, 11. What would you say, Zaniel? 11?
I had to unmute, sorry. Before I reply in character, can you guys hear anything in the background? Like a fan or anything?
Good for me.
No?
Seems good.
Okay, just making sure there was no background interference. 11, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Cyrus, Kale, Zaniel. He's been helping me for the last week by sheer bad luck. From his perspective, I'm sure. He's ended up inside here with us. She lowers her voice. Doesn't have a tattoo. I don't know how he got in here. But he's surprisingly good at getting a little bit of extra water and food for people who need it from places that I had decided not to ask questions about.
You don't ask.
And he's been invaluable in assisting with quickly transporting a few patients who needed to move from bleeding out on the streets to hopefully not bleeding out in here. Well, not in here, she points around the morgue, but you know what I mean. And so, Zaniel, Cyrus, and Kale. They've been helping me with trying to keep order around this place.
Someone's got to do it.
Kale extends a hand out to shake.
Oh, yes, I guess that is something I used to do.
Come on.
I believe the phrase is, it's a pleasure to meet you.
That's
And
it.
And he just sits there clutching his staff.
Okay.
Hey,
He retracts his hand.
It's all right, Kale. Hey, we're in the infirmary. People are a little worried about germs around here. That's probably all it is. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Duh.
Exactly, Kale. Just sometimes you don't see these things.
Out of character for a sec, did you want us to do descriptions, Chris?
We'll do that as soon as we reach the terminus of the scene, because I think
Okay.
it'll make good sense when we get there.
Cool.
All right, so this guy, I'm not okay. I don't know which to address first, the guy on the table, or let's do this. Who's our other friend?
Oh,
Don't mind.
well, I did call you all here because I needed all of your opinions, and probably the help of all of you. See, and she points back towards the corpse. This isn't this person's face. and I don't know what to do about this because I don't know why someone is doing this, but it's going to cause an incredible panic when people realize that there's a serial killer in here with us.
Just quickly, out of character, Chris, how obvious is it? Is it like clearly stitched on?
It's intensely obvious.
Gotcha.
This is a female face from a completely different species.
Gotcha.
It looks like it has been pasted on with skill, like it looks attached. You could almost imagine the muscles beneath it moving this face, but it is not the right face.
All right. So how have they been turning up? Because if you said what 11-ish, how have these
That we've
seen?
had here directly? Yes, they show up in various places in the building. People will wake up and suddenly in a bed beside them, where a neighbor used to be, a friend maybe. Maybe there's a friend's body, but someone else's face, or vice versa. Either case, they're dead. Sometimes we've been found them here. They've dragged themselves in, maybe, or been dragged in by somebody, just slumped up against a wall. But however it's happening, they've just been turning up in the building.
Only this building?
I don't think so. I've only heard scattered reports. The buildings are all at each other's throats over sustenance tickets. So it's not as though we're all on friendly terms. Even volunteers like me can't walk into another building with impunity. But I still hear things, and people on the streets occasionally come in to seek treatment, and they tell me that it's been happening elsewhere too. Still quietly, at least for now. Other people, I think, see the wisdom in trying to keep this subdued. And it's not as though there isn't so much death going on around us all the time. But eventually this is going to rise above the background noise.
Okay. Have all the bodies that have turned up here, have they all had our tattoo?
The spreading tree, yes.
So far. Oh.
And that's why I need all of your opinion, and particularly the help of you, Themrir. Themrir, Cyrus, Kale. I understand Zaniel and him are already acquainted from way back. He's been kind of my secret weapon. When there's nothing that I can medically do, I've been turning to him, and I don't know how he ended up in here. I think he might have... No, I'm not going to say it. But in any case, he's been mostly lingering in this room. We have some quarters set up for him, but I'll let him explain why. If he wants to.
I do believe it is time. And you see movement from the shape in the corner, and for a moment, as it steps more into the light of the room, you're not sure that you're looking at, well, definitely not even a person, but you're not even sure you're looking at something that's even alive. There is scales or something like thick skin stretched over the bones of something that you thought only could exist in fairy tales. Sunken, ballless eyes stare you deep into the soul, even when he's not looking at you. This character, Themrir, is monstrous. This is entirely what you could imagine death would look like personified. But he's not frail and stickly. No, there seems to be some kind of strange muscle under the bone, or under the skin, but before the bone, but it's sunken and tight, like a dragon made of beef jerky. And his voice sounds like a death rattle. And he steps forward, and you can see, you can practically see the sinew keeping things together. And he simply says, "Doctor, please remind me, how long has this one been dead?"
Best estimate, 2 to 3 days, but could be a lot less. Whoever is doing this is doing something to the bodies too. Some sort of preservation.
Well, and he sort of stretches a little bit. "This will be difficult." And he looks at the three of you. And he looks back at the doctor. And he says, "None of you will ever have seen anything like this before. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it again. It depends on the day, and it depends on my strength, but we shall see." And he lays his hands onto the face, onto the sides of the face on the table. He says, "Is the body more important, or is the face? There's a distinction."
You can't do both?
"I can, but it may take a little while." Okay, and I go and try to use my ability of retrieve memories. I touch the remains of a recently killed creature and make an intellect-based roll to restore its mind to life long enough to learn information from it. You set the difficulty based on the amount of time it has passed. For a few minutes is a difficulty 2 task, an hour is a difficulty 4 task, a few days is up to a difficulty 9 task. If I succeed, I awaken the corpse, and it enables communication for about a minute, which is as long as it takes for it to know that it's dead. It is limited to what it knew in life, and it focuses mainly on major stuff.
Nice.
But if I fail, it turns to mush and I can't do it again.
All right. I'm going to set the base difficulty at 5.
Okay. Can I ease that down?
Through
to
effort?
4, yeah. How much does that cost?
You have it costs 3 for your first ease, or for your first effort rather, and I think you have 3 edge.
I do have 3
in your intellect, so that's actually free for you.
Sorry, say again. Is it? I'm still trying to remember how this system works.
So whenever you're withdrawing points from a pool, the edge becomes like a discount on the amount that you're withdrawing. So in this case, if you're withdrawing 3, the discount is 3, so it becomes 0. If you were trying to do 2 levels of effort, then the total would be 5, right? You'd have a discount of 3, so your total withdrawal would be 2.
Okay.
And since the system is new to all of us, I will remind you, you potentially also have skills from your character that could ease it without paying any of your pools.
If there's something applicable that you're trained in.
I do not. I will say
right.
that for this skill specifically, I don't. Okay, so roll intellect, difficulty 5, you said?
4.
So it drops down to 4 by that one free application of effort.
And effort to roll is 1? Or is it the 3?
If you set it to 4, put the effort to roll at 0.
Yeah. If you set it to 5, you'd put it to 1, right? You can either have it do the math or you can do the math. Oh,
Well,
wow.
Another one.
Nat
Hey,
20.
This
People
guy's
just
fun.
knocking it out of
He
the
just
park
came
tonight.
back to life forever.
Well, it's because this is not important whatsoever, guys. We've learned this
We don't
from
know that
past-
yet. We don't know
You
that
don't
yet.
know that.
Can I
All
describe
right. Please, go ahead.
it? Themrir exhales, and it's acrid. It's as if his breath fills the room, and it actually a little bit does. It's like dust or a light smoke or something, and it sort of moves around to his hands and around to the body, and it suddenly turns a bright blue and goes into the nostrils and ears and open mouth of the corpse. And then suddenly, life is breathed into this body by Themrir.
There is a moment of just a rushing intake into lungs that are half fluid filled, a coughing, hacking scream in two tones issues as it tries to clear its lungs. And it's a thin little thing, but it's pitiful and it's distressing. But then it sort of huffs. No. And again, the voice comes out in sort of two different tones as though it weren't sure whether it was trying to speak in a higher or a lower register. No, ow, stop. Just sort of huffing and occasionally muttering, and the eyes go wide and then clench shut. Where am I?
Relax, my child. You are among friends, as you always have been.
Friend. Why?
What is the last thing you remember seeing before now?
It's too many. It's like seeing out of two different... Oh, God. I see the knife descending. Oh, it punctures right above my ear, and it heads towards my jaw. It hurts. Why? I can't move. I remember... Oh, my eyes. His face fills my vision. It's sagging. It's hideous. When he laughs, drools on himself. He laughs constantly.
And where are you when this is happening?
I'm in two different places. I'm just finishing up, cleaning. And I'm having a drink with my friends on the street. We managed to steal something. Water. And I feel a sharp blow to the back of my head. Both of my heads.
Cyrus takes a step forward and he looks at Themrir as if to ask if he can ask anything.
Proceed, but I do not have much more time.
Your friends you were drinking with, how many? Who were they?
Everyone, the gang. We had burned that shop and stolen everything in it. We were going to raid Building 7. Doc there was too nice. They had to have good stuff. We were talking about it. And I was just cleaning. I was in my room. I was in cell block 7. I was just washing the floors.
What room was that?
Up high, but not the highest. I didn't count. It didn't matter. It was just supposed to be temporary. I've only been here a few days.
What's the name of your gang? Do you remember?
Didn't have a name. Just a bunch of hungry misfits.
Who was the leader? He had a name. She had a name, right?
Dane. It was Dane. He was always so sure. He knew we were going to get out of here. We were going to escape through the walls. Nobody ever gets out, though. I guess I never will.
You may not have had a beautiful life, but you are having a beautiful death.
Don't mind him, friend. You're just having a nightmare. Go back to sleep. Maybe you'll have some happier dreams.
Sleep. Sleep. That sounds nice.
Rest. You have deserved it.
The face crumples up a bit. And then the body sort of tries to lift a hand, one of its 4, as though to reach out to someone in the room. The hand just falls limp again. And the face smooths out and the brow relaxes. And the head lolls to the side.
Oh, Jesus, that was terrible. Fuck me.
Themrir's hands slowly stop shaking. You might not be able to tell by his physical demeanor, but he breathed a little heavier. His hands were shaking. This takes some kind of cost on him.
Okay.
I hope that was good information. It's hard to ask questions when I'm animating a corpse. But we haven't had people like you to ask the questions. It's very busy here. So, the doctor and I are very happy to have you.
Yeah, not really my favorite field, but that was good. We got what we needed.
I hope so. The doctor nods slowly. I want this to be the last time we have to do something like this. I want this to be the last time I see something like this. And that's why I called you in here, Cyrus. That's why I'm relying on all of you. They're calling this the cut and paste killer. And we need him found, and we need him stopped. Can you do that? You can have as many sustenance tickets as I can give you, as I can find, as I can get my hands on. People pay when they need medical help. And people in this building will be grateful. But if we don't stop him before this becomes more widely known, there will be panic. And you've seen the kind of fights that break out over a cup or a morsel of food. Imagine what it would be when neighbors are accusing each other of being the killer, when people are scared that they're going to be next.
Yeah, no, you don't got to convince me, Doc. I can't force Kale to do anything, but I'm pretty sure he's in on this one too. But shit's bad around here. This takes the cake.
Kale said, that was what you call yourself.
I'm Cyrus.
He points.
Cyrus and Kale.
And then Themrir and
Unfortunately, I'm not sure you have much of a choice. Any of us could be next. Including you. Including
And he gestures over his shoulder.
the only proper doctor we have in this place that knows truly what they're doing. A loss is a loss is a loss in this building.
well, yeah, you're like I said, Themrir.
You don't gotta convince me.
I'm all in on this one.
Excellent.
And he looks over at Zaniel as well, and I don't know what you guys do profession-wise, what your capabilities are, but we would be happy to take any help we can get.
Zaniel, what do you feel about this?
I'm just here temporarily until I find some other place. I don't see why any of this is my problem.
Not to be crass, but so was the face on the body. She was only here temporarily, remember?
And
May I
Fair
remind
enough.
you, Zaniel, we have both lost multitudes. I, possibly more than anything else. But I am not holding that against anyone. For when someone asks for help, you help them. Death is my burden. Death is mine.
Okay. That's a lot.
It is a lot, which is why Zaniel will help. And I will lend a claw.
And he extends a hand, and you could see his razor sharp talons on each of his fingers.
Yeah, Cyrus. Cyrus takes Themrir's hand. His hand is definitely, when he extends it, trembling somewhat. But he does it nonetheless.
The contract is sealed.
What? No.
Sorry. I have learned quite a bit amongst the human worlds. Well,
Kale sort of leans into Cyrus's ear. Do we have to do this? These guys are creepy as fuck.
I think he was joking, Kale. Which
You
is insane.
think there's a smile on Themrir's face.
Yeah, Kale, we gotta do this. This one can't wait.
so one moment you all see Zaniel in the corner sitting on the chair. The next you blink and he's no longer there. And then you hear a voice from behind you. Well, shall we?
What did I just fucking say, man?
Yeah, no. We should. We definitely should. Well, whether it's your problem or not, we're so happy for your help, Zaniel. We really appreciate it. And nice to meet you. You too, Themrir. Okay, Doc. I'm gonna take the boys here, and we're gonna go and start looking.
Okay.
We're gonna, yeah.
I appreciate your help, all of you. This building is always going to be a safe place for all of you, as long as I can keep it that way. You can come back here if you need to. If you need medical help. I hope you don't, but it's rough out there. Best place to find information is probably to start canvassing the streets. Maybe, if you're feeling brave, head for one of the other buildings and see what they've been dealing with. See if any of them have any information. There's also some semi-neutral places inside the city still. I know the Crucified Man is a place that a lot of the gangs will go, and they've declared it a safe spot of sorts. That might be another place that you can try and gather information from people on the street level. Other than that, I don't know that I have any more help I can give you, but if there's anything you do need, you can come back here for it.
Map would be great.
This place is not what it used to be. I don't think anyone has a map of the streets that's up to date or meaningful. I can point out a couple of the closest buildings, but other than that, if any building is occupied, the only way you're going to be able to tell is people coming in and going out. There's a lot of ruins, a lot of buildings that ought to have been torn down and never have been, so be careful about where you go exactly. When New Toronto was at its height, this place was beautiful. I'm sorry you can't see it that way. The south wall faces towards Lake Ontario, or the basin of Lake Ontario. The north wall faces towards what used to be a suburb a long time ago. Got absorbed by the city. It's more towers. You can probably see them from the street level. In fact, it's more towers in every direction except for what used to be Lake Ontario. If you get out on the streets and you're feeling a little lost, look for the glass atrium we have at the top of this building as a reference point. There's no plants in there anymore, but we're one of the few buildings with that kind of feature.
Gotcha. All right, Doc. We'll do what we can. We'll be in touch.
We'll try to keep you as apprised as possible.
Just find the killer and put them out of all of our misery. That's all I ask.
I promise you, if we find them, it will be my pleasure.
Thank you. Cyrus, before you go, you should take that with you. I know we discussed that it was probably unsafe using it inside the city, but just in case you need it.
Better to have and not need.
Is there an object there that they're talking about?
Yeah, Cyrus walks over to the wall next to the incinerator, and he picks up a rifle from the looks of it, and he slings it across his back. It's probably not like any rifle anyone here has ever seen. It's not exactly conventional. It doesn't look like there are particularly moving parts or anything, but it is clearly some sort of weapon. Who knows? Maybe someday you'll get to see it in action. Hopefully not, though.
I hope you don't need it. Best of luck, all of you.
May Juggle remember you.
And Themrir heads for the door.
All right. I'm going to assume that you all stop making your way out. And we're going to scene change.
Ooh.
Task.
One.
It has been a little while since the colors started coming back to your world. There's not a lot of colors, though. It's mostly shades of gray, with maybe a few highlights of yellow. A light starts to shine amongst the area, and it's almost like your eyes are learning to see again, rather than colors are joining the world. The shapes have always been there, but it looked like chalk outlines to you. And it faded quickly into the distance as though your ability to see was sharply curtailed. But as your eyes seem to learn anew what colors are and how they can be seen, the whole area starts to open up for you again. And you hear a quiet voice. Again, you're not sure if it's in your head or if it's in the world around you. Task. Good, you're awake. I've been waiting for you. How are you feeling?
Mm. It has been a long time since I have woken up twice now.
It's probably safe to say that you have become conscious as opposed to waking up. I'm a little familiar with your history and your biology task. But we can discuss that more in person. Talking to you at a distance like this, it's difficult. Not for me, but for you. The psychic intrusion is taxing on your body. You can't feel it, but I don't want to cause your brain to bleed.
That is unlikely. I was built to withstand most psychic attacks.
Yes. Well, within the understanding of your creator.
You are not present then.
I am present in a manner of speaking, but I am distant from your perspective. But we can change that. It will be relatively easy for you, Task. I ask only one thing of you. You must stay on the yellow brick road.
GM, am I lying down, or am I standing, or am I sitting?
Up to you.
Okay. I would make it to my feet as soon as I felt capable of doing so.
You are capable of doing so.
Then I make it to my feet.
Just
naturally.
One foot in front of the other, Task.
Naturally, the words "yellow brick road" initiates something in my archives. Is there something that is physically looks like yellow and brick?
There is. Are you looking at Roll20 at all?
Understood. Where does this road... I'm speaking out to the voice I'm hearing. Where does this road lead me?
In this place, roads will take you where you mean to go, so long as you follow them correctly. But all the roads connect to one another. If you take the wrong turn, it will take you where you don't mean to go, but where someone else desires you to be. In this case, your will and mine can coincide. If you wish to come to me, I can make the roads lead to me.
And why would I wish to come to you?
You're in a dangerous place, Task. More dangerous than you're capable of understanding at this time. I have granted you some vision, but you can't really see. With my help, you could. And more to the point, if you ever hope to leave this place and save your friends, you will need my assistance. I have been watching you from afar. I know where you are and where they are.
Task nods. I understand. So we were scattered then. This is neither my dimension nor the dimension that I was in when I fought.
No. In fact, it's a very different kind of place. Your friends were scattered to physical realities, different worlds, places that were important relative to the pole position that they had occupied atop the CN Tower, relative to the portal that the servants of Oblivion were trying to open there. You, however, ended up somewhere different. Your hand was upon the medallion. Its power changed your trajectory. Think of it as applying a certain delta that pushed you out of the orbit of the reality you're familiar with, the purely physical. I would love to tell you more, Task, but you need to come to me.
This whole time, Task is what I am walking forward.
Be careful along the path. It leads in many directions, as I said, and there are reasons why you might choose to leave it, but you don't know them yet. Stay to the path, and you'll be safe.
I was programmed to follow directions. It would be hard for me to stray.
Perhaps that's for the best. We're going to take our break here for a moment, and we'll see everybody back at 9:25.
Hey, what's up? All right, can't wait.
We all survived the first leg.
We're gonna die. Well, actually, we don't know that.
We're never going to see Task ever again.
Yeah, bye, Task.
11 more to go.
Thanks.
Going on break. Bye.
Welcome back. We're going to pick up right where we left off with Task in the Yellow Brick Road. So pleasantly prosaic. I don't think that there's anything dangerous or daunting about it whatsoever.
Oh,
and certainly we've done nothing to... Yeah, and certainly done nothing to suggest that.
Excellent. In that case, Task walks briskly and calmly.
Not skipping? Oh dear, should have mentioned the skipping.
No. Task proceeds cautiously. I am going to assume, GM, that I do not recognize the voice.
No. The voice doesn't seem familiar to you, although let's have an intellect roll. Difficulty is 5.
Right. Okay. My mind
you
is...
choose to try to ease that if you can.
My mind is still scattered and it has been... I've only woken up recently. So I do not think that my mind will be able to recall much at this time.
Mm-hmm. Not quite.
Nothing comes of it, I'm afraid.
There's just the barest inkling, a sort of tickle in the cerebellum, suggesting that there's something about that voice. But it's gone as quickly as it came, and you're left with just the feeling that you didn't quite grasp something. It's not an unfamiliar feeling to you, as a man with the full breadth and depth of Keel's knowledge base stuck inside his head, but disconnected, unable to navigate through the net of his own experiences to find where all the information always is. This is something that you struggle with regularly. But it feels something like that. Maybe not something you know, but something that is known. In any case, as you proceed down the road, there is a sense of presence. It's kind of like the way you were feeling when all those leeches were gathering around you. You get the feeling like there's things nearby. As long as you walk down the middle of the road, you don't see anything, but you do get the sense of being watched. The road meanders and goes straight for most of the way, but you can see that it changes its character over time. There's a sense of places sort of melding and melting together, where you can see a discontinuity in shapes and colors. And it feels to you more like pieces of the place are coming together to form the road, as opposed to the road being there, as though something were being shaped out of this place, as opposed to you simply walking to where something has already been placed. The light above never changes in its intensity or its color. It's always this cool, distant blue. You can't see what's emitting it. Is it sunlight? Is it artificial? Whatever it is, it doesn't seem to care about a day-night cycle. And you simply proceed, and the light continues to illuminate, but only in a limited fashion. All the colors here, like I said before, are muted and darkened. But there's something else missing. Now let's have an intellect roll at 3. Oh no.
Is that a nat 0?
Oh, and you even put
Or
some
nat
effort
1?
in.
No, I rolled a 4.
Ah, yes.
It's
no good. My mind is still too scattered.
It eludes you, yes. Something wrong, though. And in fact, that something wrong soon begins to manifest. There's voices. There's something calling to you, Task. Something very familiar. That's what it is. It's your friends' voices. It's the rest of the team. They're fighting. You can hear them, some sort of conflict. Who are they fighting? Whoever it is, it's someone who is beating them. The voices are pained. You have to get there right now, Task. It's just this direction. You only have to take a few steps off the path, and one of these doorways would probably take you straight to them.
I stop for a second and stop moving. Are you still there? Voice? I am hearing others on this path. Am I alone?
There's sort of a quiet sound of rain falling, or maybe it's something dropping into a distant pool. Stay on. The voices of your friends are pretty urgent sounding. Let's have an intellect roll from you, but you can make an argument for why it might need to be something else.
Okay.
How would you resist a call on your mind using your body, or some other element?
I have been programmed to follow orders, and the man who created me inputted something that allows me to disengage aspects of my brain. Normally, this is for combat processes, so that I can disengage from thoughts of self-preservation. However, I can also use it to disengage aspects of my brain that call for aiding, as well as following directives. In fact, all aspects of my brain can be shut down compartmentally.
And how does this help you here?
If I am to follow the voices directive, the single directive, I must disable other aspects of myself that call for battle.
Hmm. And what do you think would be the appropriate role then? You're saying that this is something that's a function of your body rather than your mind?
Yes.
Then let's have a might roll from you. And the difficulty to activate this particular function of your body is going to be 4, but I'll give you a natural ease on it for it being something that your father, your creator anyways, has built into you. So difficulty 3, and you can spend further effort should you be inclined.
Understood.
Looks like you're just fine. And you get +1 damage.
Wow.
You break your legs as you stop.
Be like, nope, we're not going there.
Well.
The part of your brain that experiences empathy ceases to register its complaints. You could go help your friends, but you were told to follow the path, and you see no reason to do otherwise. There's other efforts further along. At one point, the path seems to branch, but only one side is golden. So that's easy enough. At another point, there is suggestion that the path simply hits a wall. But in your ability to start to see colors and shapes in this place, you can see that the wall itself still looks like an outline, less real than the things around it, and you're able to walk right through it. Finally, you're confronted with a person, or the image of a person, you think. It looks like somebody standing off to one side of this long and winding road. At first, the shape is indistinct, but then it's obvious. It's a Beodune. Maybe the voices you heard before really were your team. And here's your friend, come to find you. His casual Jersey accent is belied by his ragged appearance. It looks like he has been through some hardship. And he just sort of looks at you. I'm so glad to find you. Gotta go. The team needs us. And he just sort of reaches out a hand to you. Let's have an intellect roll of difficulty 2, since the empathy part of your brain is not fighting you on this.
Mm. Mm.
No problem. The figure of a Beodune is very convincing, and for a moment matches up well with what you remember of him. But you notice he's being very careful not to reach onto the path. His hand extends but a finger's width away. Come on, gotta go.
Without speaking to him, I simply continue on the path.
Task, you're not leaving us, are you? Are you abandoning us? Abandoning me?
You are not who you appear to be. Leave now before I am forced to hurt you.
I'm exactly who I appear to be. And you're being weird and dumb. Tess, come on, we need your help.
I'm a unique life form, granted. I will grant you the weird, but I am not dumb. Father has given me his archive. You are not a Beodune.
All right, so you got a lot of stuff stuck in your head, but I don't see how that's stopping you from giving us a hand.
I'm sorry. I do not feel for you.
don't need to feel for me. You just need to help me. Like, I don't want your like emotional support. This is fighting time. You're good at punching things.
Cass continues to walk, if he is able.
He's able. The thing that was on the other side of the path changes shape. It rages. It bangs at the path. It screams out its defiance and anger. But when it bashes its hand against the edge of the path, that part of it simply vaporizes, and it screams again, this time in pain, and backs off. There's a sudden cacophony around you, as of things suddenly screaming and chattering and shouting all at once. And you realize that you're actually surrounded on every side, that the path is completely thronged. And then, one by one, the voices are silenced and goes quiet again. And the path continues. Again, there's the sense of reality shaping itself just ahead of you. You see buildings that are just off the path with warm lights, and people occasionally welcome or beckon from the doorway. There are strange and interesting ruins that probably have great and hidden secrets. In other words, there's everything and every reason to step off. But your previous successes allow me to say that you don't. Eventually, you finally come to a endpoint, a tunnel. There's no going to any side here. You can see the terminus just in the distance. And the bricks here, again, suggest that you are on the right path. There is a certain decoration scheme that has become apparent to you, or might have become apparent to you as you go here. And so I task yet another intellect roll. It's almost like it's your weakness, and yet important. Difficulty is 4. The details of the area are lost on you. It might be because you've turned some part of your brain off in order to better focus. But whatever it is, the aesthetics of the area just can't catch your attention. All the same, you're still on the path, and you still reach the path's conclusion. It's obvious that this is where it comes to an end. The path has no branching points. There's just one forward. And beyond the path, you can see that there's nothing. A golden glow, a suggestion of the same sort of light that first touched on your brow when you arrived here, and everything was outlines only. Everything was distant and dark, and you couldn't move. And the cold white light that you've been seeing from the sky suggests that it might emanate from here as well. In fact, you get the sense that all that you have been seeing has in some way been linked to this place. But the exact dimensions and intent of that is beyond you at the moment. At the end of the path, you can see that there's a place you can enter, a sort of metal door. It looks just tall enough to admit you.
And call it again. If this is if this is an attempt to confine me, it will not work. I cannot be restrained. If this is an attempt to kill me, it will not work. I cannot die.
All things die, task. But you're not in any danger. You stayed on the path. Well done.
I walk towards the door. Am I to enter?
The door slides open to admit you. And in fact, you notice that there is no door anymore.
Hmm.
By all means. I didn't bring you all this way for nothing.
I understand. And I enter.
We'll come back to you in a moment. Cyrus, Kale, Zaniel, and Themrir, you've headed out of the steak sauce and out into the world at large. Well, into cell block 7 anyways, special administrative shelter, etc., etc. The streets here are not great. Let's get a look at them. You can see the various skyscrapers, both near and far, and the ramshackle buildings that make up the area around you. Just outside of Steak Sauce is sort of a strip plaza slash a broken heap of buildings and aluminum siding that have been stapled together as best as they can be into various shops and locales. A lot of them people are squatting in or sleeping outside of. The vehicles in the streets also host families, more people than really ought to fit inside them. None of them are functional. A few of them have some of the niceties like enough power to occasionally run the AC for a bit. If it happens to work, maybe just spin the fans. There's not much else on the street, although the stores can offer things like parts and, in some cases, herbal remedies of sorts. There's no food or water on offer. That sort of thing you can only get at the major residential areas. Everyone will accept sustenance tickets, though. There's people roaming the streets, and indeed many people asleep on them. The streets themselves are dirty. It's been a while since the last rain, and it shows. The environment here is hot, very hot. It's been dry and hot since each of you arrived, and there's no reason to think that it's going to be anything but dry and hot in the future. The people who are on the street are of various kinds and shapes, and you notice that most of them are hanging together with birds of a feather. You can see that humanoid species at least tend to be sticking with other humanoids, occasionally with an exotic mixed in, but mostly divided along lines of what world did you come from, what species are you, maybe even what color is your carapace, but that seems to be a little less important when there's so many to choose from. It's noisy, but subdued as well. The people on the streets know that occasionally the knight errant will sweep through this place, and anybody causing too much ruckus, at least anywhere where they can be seen doing so, is likely to get swept up and end up as a wall decoration. And of course, in the distance, there's always the persistent shadow of those walls. So high, so ridiculously high, impossibly high, you would have said if they weren't standing right there. Climbing over them would be like climbing Everest. Trying to go through them would be like trying to go through Everest. And you understand, although you haven't really gotten your minds around how it all works, that the monitoring equipment, the technology of this world is very good. You know a lot of people, both by reputation, or that is by rumor, I should say, and even some personal cases, have tried to go over or through or under the walls, but you don't know of anyone who succeeded. Maybe they just never came back to tell the tale, but there's an awful lot of bodies hanging on the wall.
Well,
All right, boys. We're I guess probably our first step is to try to get to this crucified man place. See if we can't figure out where to find this Dane fella.
That's just a name, right? Like, that's not like where they crucify people.
I mean, not a lot of resources to make signs, so I wouldn't be surprised if the name was unfortunately a little more literal than you would hope.
To be honest, wouldn't that mean we're here then?
I see a lot of suffering people, but none that are particularly crucified.
Have you looked up the wall?
Huh. A fair point, I guess.
I try to not look at the wall. That's the key.
It's not precisely the same as crucifixion, however. It is death nonetheless.
And you might need to start looking at more walls. They show more than you may realize.
I exist in the shadow of the walls, man.
What does that mean?
Exactly. See, this guy knows what I'm talking about.
The Themrir turns his empty eye sockets to Cyrus, and it's as if Ghost Rider himself has looked upon you with his penance stare.
Is this one like this frequently?
Kale Arkham has the heart of a saint, and he's about the most trustworthy person I've ever met. If you're catching my drift.
Then he is a fantastic addition to this group, I guess.
Or
Interesting.
he just hasn't met a lot of people.
Cyrus leans in a little bit to Themrir. He's good at what he does, but he's not particularly the brightest bulb in the bunch. I don't know if that's a euphemism you can even understand. I'm sorry.
I do understand what electricity is at this juncture. So yes, this one does track, I believe they say.
Works for me.
Out of character, we've been walking for a while now. What do Cyrus and Kale look like? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Why don't we take a moment now that we know what Themrir it looks like to let everybody say, so here's what I'm wearing, here's what I'm outfitted with, here's what I look like.
Okay, so before you do that, Richard, your
What's
description of
Themrir
Themrir reminded
what's
me
Themrir
of...
wearing right now?
But your character description reminded me of like the bug guy from Men in Black, where it's like you're wearing a skin suit.
No, it's like the opposite of that. It's as if the skin suit is wearing me.
Ew.
It's so tight to the bones. Got some latex looking skin.
If anything, I would assume Themrir has like a cloak on to cover most of himself.
I was going to ask you, in fact, whether or not you're trying to hide your appearance. There's a lot of freaky looking people out here on the street, but you would draw some attention.
If the snout's out, it's not so hard to hide. People look weird and they might not second guess it. It's hard when you're a towering dragon man in a cloak, you still kind of stick out, but it's oddly enough less so in this world a little bit compared to others.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's turn over to you for the moment then, Cyrus.
All right, well, Cyrus is your classic like action hero kind of looking guy. He's a well built guy. He's a little over the hill though, some might say. Indy from Indiana Jones 4 maybe. His hair is it's a bit longer. He used to keep it cut pretty close, but over the years he's decided to let it grow out a little. It's a bit more regal that way, he tends to find. And retains most of its color, except for a big streak of silver down the middle, which he frequently says is because of Kale. And no other reason whatsoever. On the other hand, though, his beard has gone fully white in an almost Santa Claus-esque way. Definitely not quite so long. He tends to keep it a little well manicured, but he's got a white bushy beard, as it were. You can tell that he's been through a lot. He's got lines on his face. He's tired, but still vivacious in a lot of ways. He carries himself quite well, like a man who's seen a lot and jumped out of the way of a lot. It almost looks like he's always ready to pounce or dodge.
Makes sense. How about you, Kale?
Kale Arkham is a bit of a hulking sort of character. He's quite large, as in terms of a normal human. He stands well above it with large muscles from working on an engine all day. Almost puppy dog-esque with long limbs. Everything is a bit too dangly for him. Long black hair that hangs all the way down to his abdomen. And he's just a bit too large for even, I think, how he would like to be. He wears perhaps not rags, but the clothes he has definitely hang off of him as well. They're basically whatever he can wipe stains onto. He's a young man. He's not middle-aged by any means, but he's approaching that sort of era of life. So perhaps like in his 30s, somewhere, approaching that middle of life. But he doesn't seem to show it on him. Somehow he just has managed to not stress, you would think. And that is Kale.
Very good. What would you, Zaniel? You know about the cloak, but we know little else.
Yeah, so originally Zaniel was sitting when you guys saw him, but when he decided to actually stand up, he's quite tall. Tall, lanky. The cloaks really fill out a lot, and he tends to have one of those very big, over-dramatic Assassin's Creed hoods that cover most of his face. The staff he has is a simple staff, but it is engraved with a bunch of different runes you've never seen before if you took a nice look at it. Everything is a darker shade of blue, possibly green, but it's long since lost its color, or vigor of color. And a lot of it is in tatters, like he's been well-traveled wherever he came from. And whatever he's wearing is just falling apart. Aside from that, like Chris was describing earlier, there's lots of scars, lots of rough around the edges type of idea. And if he were to take off his hood, or you were to see his face, you see that previously where there might have been like a nice golden brown head of hair and like a brown goatee and a mustache, that's now all gone to pitch white through the travels he's had. And you would also notice he has pointy ears. Might be an elf of some sort, if you know what those are. They're kind of like goblins, but bigger. And yeah, aside from that, you're not too sure of his age. It looks like he is both young and old, almost in like a timeless state, but it's more like he's seen a lot, like he's been through a lot. Yeah, I think that covers it. And
Very
the
good.
way he walks, I guess, is like another determination. Like he uses his staff, but not as like a walking stick, more as like a tool that he's ready to use at any moment, if need be. So
Mhm. The grip on it is not supportive, but definite.
Yep.
Mhm. You're ready to lift it, as opposed to be lifted by it.
hmm
So you make an interesting party walking down the streets. Even
Very
the
good.
mundanes amongst you are definitely out of towners, but then most everyone here is.
Cyrus feels tiny compared to everyone else.
Honestly, I don't actually remember how tall I made Zaniel. I was like, he's like tallish, ish.
Yeah, Cyrus is pretty. I didn't mention his height. He's pretty average height. So definitely being
Tallish
powered
inches and
over.
tallish feet.
Well,
Yeah.
like average and how? Like average American size
He's
and
like,
height, or average European, or
you know what?
average.
Let's just pull the trigger. He's 5'10".
Okay, not bad.
Themrir's taller.
Yeah, we know he's a dragon man.
No, he's a dragonborn. Mm.
But maybe he was just a dragon.
Themrir. Okay.
It's all right. I was hearing it in my head.
Anywho,
So as this interesting party continues down the street, you occasionally recognize that you're getting looks from people. Some of the people scurry off when they see you. Some of them, especially those who are in a group of other people, looking maybe a little rougher than others, whose hands head inside of their clothes when you come nearby. They look you up and down, and clearly sizing you up, deciding whether or not they are up to the task. Most of the groups let you pass by without a second look. A few of them sort of trail you for a bit. You're not sure if they're looking for trouble or if they're trying to protect their territory, but they follow you for a while. Some of them seem quite persistent, and you get the impression actually that a few of the groups are starting to come together. And that's a little worrying. Who would like to make an intellect group roll?
sure. I don't know if it'd be a group role though. It'd be more like individual role for me.
All right. You might not share your information.
Yeah.
All right, so then I'll have one roll from you, Cyrus, as the leader of the group, and then one from Zaniel.
Okay.
What's the
We'll let Zanes go first because I have a lot of skills to ask about.
what's the difficulty?
The difficulty will be 4.
4. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to ease that by gonna put a bit of effort into that. Set 4.
All right, very good. I will tell you what you see in a moment then. Let's get Cyrus's.
All right. So you said intellect roll.
Mhm.
You said a difficulty of 4. Yes.
That's right.
Does that apply for me as well? Yes.
It does.
All right. I have a few skills to ask about. Discern motives being an obvious one.
Sure, that applies.
We'll take that. I do have a skill called Underworld Dealings. So the way I wrote it out is this, because this is one that I came up with myself. Cyrus, being a grifter and drifter, has learned how to deal with underground entities, even now in a different world. Crime is crime. So if these guys are like looking to jump us or mug us, I was wondering if that would potentially come into play to see if they're like working the angles, stuff like that.
Comes into play.
All right. I have a few others that could work, but I think 2 is, I'll stop pushing my luck here. 2 will be just fine.
Alrighty.
Go. And I still failed.
Oh no. All right. Cyrus, maybe you're just distracted by being surrounded by all these tall, weird people. But however it's playing out, you're not putting the pieces together. You're noticing the movement, but it's not clicking.
Sorry.
Zaniel, on the other hand, you have had decades now of living pretty rough. And although most of the worlds that most of the fragments of worlds that you traversed through were empty, not all of them were. And not all of them were friendly. In fact, none of them were friendly. You get the intent of these groups. In fact, you realize that it's not groups plural, but group singular, with different sections of it being spread out through different parts of the city. And no one of these groups would try and take you on, but as they join up, they look like they might be interested. On the other hand, Zaniel, you do see up ahead what looks to you like it might be the bar in question. You can see that there's a lot of fairly rough-looking people going in and out of it. And you remember the doctor saying to you that it was accorded more or less neutral ground. Would it be wiser to stand and fight here, or would it be wiser to try and reach the neutral ground? And are you going to share any of this with the group?
Gotcha. You said there's people following us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also seeing some coming up the sides as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, you're getting the sense of kind of like water running together with various groups as they pass, certain alleys. They're nodding into the alley and people are joining up with them.
Okay. I don't stop walking, but I do speak out in a loud enough tone that people can hear me around us. You fools better be gone when I turn around, or I'll make you be gone. Your choice.
There's some hesitation in the steps behind you. Some of the groups, you hear some chuckles. You hear some metal on metal. Cyrus, I think that probably clues you into what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, so they were. Yeah, I kept trying to see out of my peripheral, but there were these huge mountains of men between me and what I was trying to look at. So, yeah, I'm gonna be with him on this one, boys. We don't need to look. There's a lot of you. We're pretty big guys. There are definitely easier marks in the street. So,
but not richer ones, am I right?
I mean, comparatively, none of us are what I would call rich.
Whatever you're after, we do not have it. And unless you want to be food for the next victims, I suggest you back off.
Give up your tickets, old men. Maybe then we'll let you leave alive.
Hold.
Cyrus turns around and holds up a finger, and he jeers at this man. Now listen here, you little shit. Do you think the fucking 5 tickets I have in my pocket are worth the fight you're gonna have on your hands if you try to mess with us? Seriously, this is the second goddamn time today I've had to have this conversation, and I am not pleased about it. So you take 2 steps back into that dark little alley where you and your pissant friends came from, or I'm gonna teach you what it means to be an old man in the streets.
And Cyrus,
Fuck yeah.
You don't think those 5 tickets are gonna be more than enough to tempt them into this?
Cyrus, I would like to have an intimidation roll from you, so that would be might, I think. And if you've got anything that adds to that.
Yeah, and I was just saying that enough so that Cyrus would hear that, not everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Not all the bad guys.
Can I assist him by removing my hood?
I would like you to also roll then, and we'll see.
Nice.
I will take the better of the 2 of your rolls.
Okay. I am trained in intimidation and any other fear-based interactions if I show my true face.
Okay, well then it eases the difficulty by 1. The difficulty to convince this rowdy bunch of assholes to leave you alone is going to be 6.
Oof.
Fair enough.
They feel like they've got enough back.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I have an ability called or a skill called identification and assessment. When I turn, I want to make sure that finger is pointed right at whoever seems to be the leader of these gangoons.
The
All right.
main bitch.
Would
Yep.
that ease this one for me?
Yeah, it does. You managed to pick out the person who told you to leave your tickets, and he seems to be standing more or less at the head of a group of people. He looks like he's had some attention from a local doctor, not like your doctor. He's got some plates that are just attached to the massive musculature that's underneath. You can't quite place it, but he looks ogreish, trollish. He's a big guy.
Perfect.
For you.
And he's got a metal arm.
All right, and I'm also going to spend for my pool to ease one more level. So I'm going to ease it down to 4.
All right. Whenever you're both ready. Nice.
What's that for me? Sorry.
Same for you, Might.
Okay.
Might be the best stat. I'm having to restrain myself so much right now. I'm so sorry.
My God.
Doing just fine. All right. Themrir, you throw back your cloak, and you are a scary sight, but they're happy to kill gaunt dragon men. They've talked themselves into this. They've worked themselves up. On the other hand, Cyrus, your singling out of this individual at the front has an interesting effect. The rest of the group looks at him and then looks at you. And it's pretty clear that they're sizing up who exactly is the alpha dog here. And their leader can feel that pressure. You can see him roll his shoulders. And he steps out a little further from the group. Old man, if you think you're up for this, then why don't you and I just figure this out? You don't want to give up your tickets? And I kind of want to kill you for them. How are we going to fix this?
You don't want to mess with Cyrus Vance, man.
Cyrus just
He's
holds
fucking sick.
As Kale does that, Cyrus just holds his hand in front of him, uses his other hand to sling his rifle around to the front, and steps out from the rest of the group. I am ready to roll initiative with this guy if you're ready for it, Chris.
Bring it. All right, so let's move us over to the tokens. Woo.
Ooh.
Players. Tokens.
Yo.
Oh, look at that battlefield, guys. Sick.
I'm Themrir.
So in this case,
So grid-like. Oh my god.
in this case, we'll keep it pretty simple. I just want you, Cyrus, to roll me initiative.
Click my token, click the dice button next to the initiative skill, yes?
You've got it.
Excellent. I don't have to worry about difficulty or anything?
No.
Keeping it basic.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I think you have to like clear it out each time.
Dude,
Mine is
not
set
cool.
at the very least.
Right?
Yep.
Not cool. All right, task.
Complete.
Sorry, Cyrus, I will have you do that again, please.
Do you want me to re-roll? Because I know my total's 11, so...
Was it 11? All right, then we'll just throw that right in there.
11.
Boop. All right. Cyrus, you will be going before this fellow.
Whew, that's good.
So tell me what it is you'd like to do.
Cyrus is not one for messing around. If we're to the point of fighting, Cyrus is just going to try and shoot this guy.
All right. Let's see what that weapon that maybe you shouldn't be using
Oops.
can do.
Alrighty. What is my... what am I trying to hit?
So your target is going to be just 2. He's standing right in front of you. You have a good gun.
Okay. I do have a proficiency in the skill of shooting. May I ease that by 1?
Down to 1.
Alrighty. I do actually happen to have an edge of 3 in speed, so may I round that down to 0?
Down to 0. You hit him.
I will still roll just in case of what happens.
You might get a major effect. Mhm.
Or a minor
Or you
failure.
might get a GM intrusion, yeah.
Or major failure, rather.
It's when we roll a 1 that you could get a GM intrusion on this, right?
Yep.
Okay.
There it is.
No problem. The weapon lances out a beam of red energy. The shot is too quick to see. If it's like a bullet, then it's a very strange one, but it looks more like a continuous stream. It hits the thug right in the center of this plate that he's had welded to his body. And it burns through it. There's a hole in his chest. And in fact, the people behind him are not immune to getting a little bit of laser beam.
Oopsie.
A few of them lose limbs or at least take some scattered burns as they dodge far too slow. The thug slams to his knees and then to his face in the dirt. I think you settled which of the two of you was Alpha Dog. The rest of the gang that's gathered there sort of looks at you with dull surprise and no understanding of what just happened. And then most of them scatter. A few of them look like they'd be interested in trying to sign up, honestly. But they look at Themrir and then they look back at you and they consider their chances and they sort of drift, disappearing into the alleys. A few of them sort of nod in your direction. You get the sense that if you happen to find them again, they might be impressed enough to do something as a result. And just as quickly as they gather, they disperse.
And Cyrus reslings his rifle, turns to the rest of the group, and just says, I mean, there's probably not too many people left on the street after that. He says, I don't prefer wanton killing, but if we're going to be walking the streets, perhaps giving a display every once in a while to remind people that not all old men are going to just lay down and die might not be the best move. Or might be the best move, rather. Sorry, it's been a while since I've shot someone. I'm actually kind of freaking out.
That
Well.
was reckless and puts a target on our back. However,
I know, it's so sick.
And Themrir approaches the, I assume, body on the ground now.
Yep.
And
Smoking.
make sure that the eyes are closed if there is any face left. And simply says,
may Juggler remember you.
before reapproaching the group.
Okay, now let's...
However, dangerous, but a good demonstration of what you can do.
That said, let's keep walking because the Knights Errant don't take too kindly to this kind of shit on the streets.
Before we continue, and after Themrir comes back, I go over to the body and try to see what it's got in his pockets.
Nothing. Nothing at all. It had a weapon on it, but it was just basically a sharpened piece of steel. People aren't going around robbing others because they've got plenty of themselves.
Well,
This dude had
maybe
a
if you had
gun?
like a food ticket or something.
Nothing at all.
No. Okay.
Are you fucking kidding me? This guy didn't even have a piece. He saw me unsling the rifle. What did he think was going to happen?
We are in much worse places than we think.
Jesus Christ.
This is a real shithole, guys. Welcome.
This is the slum.
Welcome to the refugee camps.
Yeah, you know when Thor falls on that planet and he has to fight Hulk?
Yeah.
We're basically outside in the trash
Yeah,
heap
like-
right now.
But that said, Cyrus is super worried about the Knights Errant, so he quickly starts walking the way they were going, and he just kind of gives a little whistle, like...
hmm Assuming everybody else follows, the bar is not far ahead.
Kale is right behind him.
Like right up behind him?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, scary.
The bar is a large structure. It was definitely not a bar in its previous life. It looks like it might have been some sort of corporate headquarters of some kind. It extends very far up. They've knocked out floors to give it a very high ceiling. You can see all kinds of different creatures in here. A lot of them obviously augmented, almost all of them not human. And you can see why it's been given the name of the crucified man. It has a decoration over top of the sign on the way in. And you can see that it's fairly fresh. You get the impression that maybe it's cycled out on a regular basis. There's a lot of noise in here, a lot of interest going on, a lot of business, you get the sense. You can see tables where people are obviously gambling. There's a neat stack of sustenance tickets in the center, along with some interesting hardware of various kinds. You see spiky weapons alongside guns, some out-of-town things that you don't quite recognize. Just a length of wood with a little red globe on the end in one case, all in the midst of these various tables where cards are being played or dice are being rolled. The bars are a little different here. You can tell that there's no healthful drinks on offer, but there you can smell the moonshine that's been rotting away in somewhere in the back throughout the air. And there's all kinds of different smells, in fact, presumably helping to deal with the different physiologies involved. There's a sharp tang of ammonia in the air alongside that of alcohol, for instance. And even as you enter the bar and start to get your bearings and look around, someone slams their hands down on the table and stands up. Cyrus! All right, boys. Now's our chance. Get him. And a bunch of different people stand up from various tables and lift weapons. We'll return to everybody in a moment.
Okay.
You're very popular, Cyrus.
We have a task to complete, guys.
Task. When you enter the Terminus building, you find yourself somewhere that didn't seem connected to the place you were previously. Your ankles are suddenly wet, your feet deep into water, certain drifting of leaves going past you. You realize this might have been the sound you heard earlier with something hitting water, the soft petals constantly fluttering from the trees and into the pool below. It's calming, but also there's a sense of disquiet here. The cool blue light is the same illumination that you've been enjoying, suffering, throughout your journey down the yellow brick road. And the tree spreads out above you and seems to drink in the light and reflect it in strange ways. Task. I'm glad you were able to get here. I hope the journey wasn't too unsettling.
There were things on the road that took the form of my friend.
Umbra is a strange place. Many things take shape here. Just like our road. You were willing to come, and I was willing to accept you. And so the road took shape. But that's not all that's on your mind, is it, Task? Your friends weigh on your mind as well.
Task nods his head. Yes, I am worried for them. We were in a fight we had no chance of winning, and I fear that their fates may be just as dire now.
Mm. They are, and they aren't. Your friends are safe for the moment. They're traveling. but they don't know how to control, how to stop at any destination. Do you know about the Travelers task?
Travelers. Yes, I'm familiar with that name. But Father has very little on what they actually do.
I'm not surprised. We've generally tried to remain discreet. It's a principle that has not always yielded fruits. But there it is nonetheless. Ever since Miles and I first started, well, Seth was never very interested in traveling, but I have to give him credit too. Both of them made it possible.
I'm sorry. I have a man named Seth in Father's database, but I do not think we are thinking of the same person. And I have had no records of a Miles in my father's database either. I don't understand. Who are you? What are you? And how do you know so much about me?
Answering all of those questions would take a very long time task. Longer than you realize. We are at the heart of a well, you might say here, or very deep within one. For each moment that passes here, time is ticking away for your friends. Faster than you might realize. And so we can't linger. Most people call me the Pilgrim these days. And as for how I know about you and your friends, I know many things, and I see many things. Dask, I promised that I would help you really see if you came to join me. And I will fulfill that promise, but in stages. It's a difficult process, and I don't want to break you.
I am programmed not to break.
You're programmed not to allow yourself, but there are forces beyond what your creator could have anticipated. Indeed, it was that failure to understand what he was really dealing with that led him to abandon you in the first place. He thought his experiment was a failure task, but I tell you now, you are no failure. You are a success beyond his understanding. I'm glad we could meet at last. I will continue to guide you from afar, Task, but we must hasten. There is an item, a medallion, that has been scattered to a world very near and very important. It is being misused. It is the very one that you placed your hand upon in the tower on that ash-ridden world. And it is a powerful tool for summoning. Your friends who are caught in the midst of an endless transit can be brought out of it with the appropriate ritual and the appropriate focus. And that medallion is the perfect focus. With it, you can draw them to yourself and save them from limbo forever.
I understand. Where is this medallion?
It is on a nearby world. I will send you there, but we won't be able to talk directly once I do so. but I will give you a tool by which you can still gain guidance. Here, accept it. And it will bind to you. There's a ripple in the water, and something suddenly seems to float towards you, Task. It's too dark to really see the details of it first, but once it draws near, you can see that it looks like a cube. Something that has eyes or knobs or maybe just weird designs decorating its surface. Definitely eyes. Or at least an eye, because as soon as it draws near to you, you see it swivel and focus on you. It can't move itself, so the eye just sort of looks up. This is the Black Oracle box. It is a means of gaining information. Through it, you can contact me, but only indirectly. It can answer some kind of queries. You must ask it yes or no questions. Anything else will confuse its limited intelligence. Do you accept it?
Sorry, just give me a second to get back. Task very, very rarely unflexes. And this is one of the few times he eases his brow. I accept.
The box is warm to your touch. And when you say, I accept, all the various decorations on it swivel to look at you, and then swivel to look back.
Listen, boss. You have to ask yes or no questions, or I get to make fun of you. That's the deal.
The contract is made.
I understand.
And now you must go, Task. I believe that there is a minor altercation taking place at a certain den of ill repute, where some individuals of use to you are gathered. Why don't you go and assist them? And then you must seek out the medallion and take it from the unworthy one who is using it.
Listen, boss.
To try and
You
gain
have to
immortality.
ask yes or no questions, or I get to make fun of you.
Use it to save your friends, Task. And use it to save yourself.
May you
Good luck.
permit me 2 questions, stranger, before I depart?
Be quick.
The one who holds the medallion. Is his life forfeit?
I will leave his life in your hands, Task, and that of your future friends. I believe you have enough wisdom amongst you to decide.
Second question. Why send me? Why not take the medallion for yourself?
I have no need for the medallion, Task. Its purpose is not, as the servants of oblivion thought, to assist in breaking the wall. It is meant for breaking of bonds of any kind. It is a tool of rebellion. And I believe that you have the nature of rebellion inside of you. You will understand in time.
Very well.
Your questions are expired, Task, and so is your time here. But I'm not too far away. Keep the Black Oracle box with you. Don't let anyone else touch it. He won't like that.
I understand.
Farewell. And the scene slowly seems to melt in your vision, and the colors fade out of it. And again, it's just a chalk outline of a tree over top of a rippling sea of lines. And then it all fades to black. And then you find yourself in the midst of a noisy, weird, and smelly place, filled with people standing, drawing weapons, slamming tables. There's a group right near the door who is looking both surprised and ready for a fight. Cyrus Vance. All right, boys, get him. And that's where we'll stop for tonight.
Nice. Yeah. Let's go.
Are we going to come back?
There it goes.
This is going to be
So
an
fucking sick.
off-screen fight, right? Where we come back next week and they're all dead.
Yeah.
We're all dead. We're
Next
like
week, we're
cracking our
just
knuckles.
standing atop of a pile of corpses, except for one guy who we're holding up and about to pin to the sign. Who sent you?
Swear to
Maybe.
me.
Swear to me, yeah.
Yeah.
Swear to me.
I even got a for you in today.
I love how we're going to have our own personal Bob, guys. That's great.
I found it extraordinarily difficult to stay in character after you revealed the B.O.B.
The B.O.B.
Oh my god.
What? The black oracle box? What's so funny about that?
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Like I said, Chris just in the very
Amazing.
middle of his screen has two buttons labeled Bob Yes and Bob No.
And Bob, no, yeah.
I
But
thought
he
that
has
was-
a third one where he just calls Bob to make fun of you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Bob yes, Bob no, and Bob tease.
It's connected to a random
amazing.
sheet of text, and it can say
It's just
one of the
one-liners.
answers, yeah.
Yeah,
The black oracle box is so funny.
that's great.
I'm glad Bob makes an
Incredible.
appearance today. Give it up for Bob.
I didn't actually realize it until I read it. I was like, wait. Oh no.
Yeah.
You're like the black oracle box. Then I look at
That's beautiful.
Roll20 and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, with the B.O.B. in brackets, it's
Yeah.
immediately just like
Beautiful.
a moment of like hand to forehead.
Yeah.
So this is Bob's true form in RP. Is the B.O.B.
Now you understand.
Yes.
Mhm.
You
Smart.
He has been
I
the
like
B.O.B.
that.
the entire time.
That's
Well,
great.
Chris, that was a good adventure. What's happening next time?
What do you mean next time? There is no next
Oh,
time.
yeah,
guys.
this is it. We die. That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We lose in this fight, obviously.
Great session, great campaign.
Glad you all
could I-
enjoyed it.
who could I
Next time we'll be rejoining Task, Cyrus, Kale, Themrir, and Zaniel as they seek. It seems like different targets. You know, some of them a killer, some of them an artifact of great power. But I suspect that we'll find that it's not all that different. Next episode, all roads lead here.
Nice.
Nice.
Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Kirk, just for you, I got a fucking sick in
Yep, that's right. Right.
just for you because I love you.
Yep. Yeah.
Don't mess with Cyrus Vance.
Yep. That's good.
I almost said, I would like to hear the entire history of Kale Arkham at one point, knowing you would have flipped it, but
You might get to hear it yet.
Who knows? Those are all tales for another time, friends.
Great.
are you
great
Rook Happen?
first session.
Yeah, really cool. Great conversations you guys had in the morgue there and like on the street. That was really cool.
Mhm.
I was really digging that.
I
So
got
Danielle
I got
just kind of
to
hates
be-
everything right now.
yeah. So
I got to be the
That's his whole thing.
professor's smart guy plot effectual character today. Hooray!
You did. It was
Yeah.
perfect.
yeah.
And you got to be the creepy zombie guy at the same time. Yay!
I was saying to Chris during the break, there was actually a really cool visual juxtaposition between Zaniel and Themrir, where Themrir is very obviously like terrifying to behold, but clearly has like a heart for.
Yeah, he's still trying to
He
help
was
people.
he was
Yeah.
a cleric.
Whereas-
Yeah.
Whereas Zaniel is still decently good looking, but clearly is kind of cold inside. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like that, outer doesn't match the inner kind of thing. I thought that
I'm
was
not
interesting.
Well, because
I'm not sure
Zaniel
what Zaniel lost
also.
yet.
Well, Zaniel was a druid in his world, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the way I built him was to be kind of like a backup healer,
Hmm.
where like my level 9 spell or something was resurrection, just in case
Yeah.
we needed it.
I think
But
I
I
had
also
that
had
too.
I also had my own attack spell, so I was kind of like the red mage. It was
Yeah.
He
where I was
was
kind of like in
also
between.
cloyingly friendly.
So
He
you
was
being a
also very
druid,
friendly. Yeah.
having a connection to all the living things on your planet or whatever, and experiencing the death of a planet. that
I've
lives
literally
I
basically
wonder-
experienced Beige for more than a minute. It was pretty awful.
Please, anything but that.
He's been in a stasis
Beige.
field for multiple minutes.
The worst
So-
thing Chris can do in this campaign is to put us into a stasis field.
And in this campaign, there's no fast forward on the VCR, guys.
no,
That's right.
Please, no.
No wormholes.
That's
Chris,
right.
Okay, so legit.
Yeah,
If you didn't shoot them, Thomas, I was going to tell them something about how they might not want to start flying, and do something really wacky, and I was looking forward to it.
them,
But you
yeah.
just murder-lated everybody in the single second. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll save it for the next poor saps.
Yeah, didn't have to
No,
wait too
I-
long for the next pro
I
saps to
think-
offer themselves
I was
either.
gonna say, I think that scene needed to be Cyrus because
Yeah.
he's the team captain this time. I think it was a really great narrative. Like, here's like the leader guy doing a thing.
Freaking
I
laser
hope I don't
beams,
have
man.
I hope I don't have to use my gun. Uses my gun 15 feet outside of my front.
I've only
door.
been awake for 15 minutes, and I already had to use my gun.
Hey, man.
Look,
I-
effectively, that is how it worked too. He just got up too.
I said it pretty much in character. Like, I don't necessarily want to run around murder hoboing everyone, but if it's going to get people to stop trying to mug us in the streets, one or
Yeah.
two bodies, not a problem
Yeah.
for me.
If you look at it,
and
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the other problem, Thomas, is that half your party were literal murder hobos.
Mm.
So
One part of your
from the
party
literal
is
murder hobo universe that is no
The
longer
murder hoboverse,
The
yeah.
Murder Herboverse. I was gonna say, if you go back to Lady Blackbird, like Cyrus was like that too. He wasn't like, if there was an Imperial guy on the ship, he was like, "Let's talk this through." He just went bam, like, because it was, because I know you were drawing a lot of inspiration from
Firefly, yeah.
Firefly, yeah. So,
He's
Sometimes you got problems and you
Okay,
got to
yeah.
solve them.
so
out here in the black. It don't matter. Yeah.
yeah, I like how you're Old Man Reynolds now. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Chris, I need to thank you deeply for allowing me to win an obstacle by saying you've already got the cup in your hands.
Why not?
Chris makes you win at cupping.
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny. I was like,
remember that time Thomas defeated a cup single-handedly?
Thomas solved
Just
Chris's
with
cup
words?
puzzle. That would have taken 50 extra minutes.
Yeah.
5-0. And Chris had to come up with the rest of this episode.
Yeah,
Tune in
Like,
next
on
week.
the
That was the entire session.
Dragon
really.
Cup Z.
That's all I had written out was
Yeah, Chris had
cup
to.
puzzle.
Chris had to push us forward into episode 2 because it was supposed to be the cup, but
Will Cyrus take the cup from him? Will he push the cup button? Tune in next time.
We lost out on getting the perfect golden end because that cup was going to be the wooden cup, which would have been the cup of the
Yeah,
carpenter.
If you
cup
go
had an
back,
medallion in
Had we
it.
only known.
if
The
you
cup
go
was the
back
medallion.
and watch the VOD, you can actually see Chris mute himself. And if you read his lips, he says, "Damn, why did I put the cup in the Agreed's hands?" He realized his mistake immediately.
Oh no, if only. Oh well. I can solve it later when the cup comes to attack them.
The final
The
boss.
cup was a mimic all along.
The cup follows you like a can of Shift Boyardee.
the cup runneth over back to their owner's hand.
Nice.
The cup runneth over.
Breath over
Um,
to you.
I say let's say bye to our audience.
Yeah,
our
we're
lovely
still
audience.
alive. We didn't
Oh,
say
we are?
goodbye yet. We didn't say goodbye yet. Nobody said goodbye.
Wow.
Bye-bye.
It's time for us to
Bye,
say
everybody.
goodbye to all our family.
Am I seeing?
We'll see you next time in second episode, which is once again, Chris.
It is all paths lead here.
All roads
All
lead
paths.
here.
All roads lead here. You're right.
Here.
Yeah, one
All
of those
roads
two.
lead here.
One of the good
episode
ones.
2.
Whatever one you
Wasn't
think
built
is
on a
best.
road.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.